Tony D and Little Jones somewhere in the background, and this is a screenwriter's rant on Piglet, a slasher movie that I guess I don't know if this is connected to Blood and Honey or not. What I do know is sometimes they make a big budget movie and I trash it because it looks terrible and there's no excuse for it, and with all the money. Sometimes that happens with an indie production too. Smash like and subscribe. Thank you for smash liking and subscribing. Check out my books, links in the description. Comedy Horror in South Jersey. It's the Pineys, books 1 through 15. Available at Amazon.com. Don't forget, Kindle Unlimited is free. So, once again, this looks pretty terrible. Now, as slasher movies go, they have the elements. They have a horrible killer named Piglet who wears a pig mask, and he's got a hook, and most importantly, they have a bunch of hot chicks, like a bunch of them, who go up to a cabin alone, only chicks and only hot ones, as the victims. So that much is at least following the formula. But my God, have some kind of story here. It's the 21st birthday of one of the girls, and then it's one of the most on the nose kind of stories. Like, oh yeah, Piglet, you know, he was a killer that lived here. He's crazy. He was in the woods, and anyone who rents this cabin is cursed. Let's rent the cabin. I mean, that's the way it kind of comes off. You know, and these girls aren't really doing anything that you wouldn't just do in somebody's house. So I don't even know why they bothered to rent the cabin, but okay. I mean, sometimes you just want to cut loose away from everybody. I guess you could say, well, they're all in their early 20s. They probably all live at home and there's a weekend away. And they do have scenes like this. So, in some respects, this is a classic slasher movie. But, you know, give it some amount of story. Put some effort in the damn screenplay, will you? So, despite this hot scene, I wouldn't recommend this movie. Looks terrible. I'll just leave it there. It looks terrible other than this. Just going to be a bunch of murders. Just a bunch of gruesome murders. There's even a shot in the trailer of, like, Piglet stabbing a guy, and, like, you see the knife going in, which is obviously a fake torso, but you actually see the stabbing. See, in the 80s when they made these new movies, a lot of it would be quick cuts, so you wouldn't actually see the stabbings that blatantly and that slowly. I mean, this was like a full shot of the torso, and you can see the knife going in a few times. Like, normally in the 80s, you might see a shot of the torso and, like, oh, the knife starts to go in and they cut away. And you're like, oh, because your imagination allows you to believe that it's going to be much worse than it is. But instead, they're actually showing you that, which is a bad move, especially in the trailer. Should have cut away. And the torso doesn't look all that good, quite frankly. I mean, it's obviously fake. So, what's the story? First act, a bunch of hot girls go to a cabin in the woods. I guess there's a hot tub too. And they're going to party because one of the girls has her 21st birthday. And there's about half a dozen of them, maybe more. And the problem with these movies is after the first victim dies or disappears, really, realistically, the people involved would immediately call the police and shut everything down. Like, there'd be no question. It wouldn't be like this thing like, well, Debbie left. How, you know, people would be like, Debbie just left? Like, we're out in the middle of the woods. Why would she just leave like that? Like, you'd have to address the reason. Now, maybe you could set up that Debbie was mad and had one foot out the door anyway, kept threatening to leave, and then when she's killed, everybody goes, well, I guess Debbie left. I mean, you could do that for the first victim. By the time you get to the second victim, it's really time to get to the point where they're like, oh my God, we're being hunted and killed. The next thing you have to address in this day and age, of course, are cell phones. Now, the quickest way is to go, well, there's no signal, nobody can get any signal, or the killer has a blocking device and he's blocking the signal. The next thing to address, though, is the cars. Like, why don't they get in cars and drive away? You know, go to the cops, say, our friend disappeared in a cabin, we're afraid, please go back there and find our friend. Like, that's what normal people would do. And you have to address these things that normal people do in movies. You have to. If you don't address them, the movie just comes off as like, well, why are these people staying there? But anyhow, I assure you, they will probably stay in the woods for the entire movie. The girls are being hunted one by one by Piglet and his assistant, who's the guy who rented him the cabin. For some reason, he wants to help Piglet murder a bunch of people. And he wants to store their meat in a locker. Gruesome. Finally, what's the end? Well, one of the girls turns the tables on Piglet and kills him. Or she thinks she kills him. You know, maybe falls into a vat of acid or off a cliff or something, and we don't see what happens to him. That'll be the one time you won't see what happens. Yeah, this looks super low budget, but not the lowest budget I've ever seen. This is like low budget for Hollywood low budget. This is like a bunch of investors got together and made a monster movie. And this will be money. Don't get me wrong. This will be money. I don't recognize any of the actresses in this thing. They probably didn't spend a ton of money on them. You know, they spent just enough money to make it. I would ballpark this budget at a couple of $100,000, maybe $500,000. Maybe $500,000. And then they'll make a couple of mil on it. Yeah, they'll make a few million. I mean, even some of the actors, you know, a lot of times actors, if you give them the right role, they'll do it for next to nothing. If it's not non-union, because they just need the credit. You get a lead, even in a movie like this, that's a big credit for an actor. And to get actresses to do this stuff, yeah, they're usually not that famous. So, yeah, Piglet. Let's see the write-up on this thing. There even is one. Because when I hear Piglet, I think Winnie the Pooh, right? So, here it is. Piglet. I think this is it. No, that's not even it. Is it? No, that can't be it. So, I don't think it's... What year is this one? Yeah, I don't think this is it. Although the lead looks similar. Some of the girls look... I don't know. Doesn't say the year or anything. So, I don't know. But what I do know is... Yeah, I'm not... there's the torso scene. See, that's obviously a fake torso. You know, it's made to look like a real torso because there are jeans on it. And, you know, like the skin's not quite right. And, you know, anybody actually being stabbed would be moving so much you wouldn't even be able to see it. But I think this is the lead. Piglet has returned. So I guess it's a sequel? I'm not sure why it's not called Piglet 2 then. Or is this a sequel to Blood and Honey? Like they killed Pooh, but Piglet's still running around. And again, I don't like these movies where they take childhood things and make them evil and they murder a bunch of people. It's just lame. It's just lame to me. come up with a better thing. Like going, there's so much folklore. You know, I do research on folklore mainly in South Jersey, but sometimes I flip through other things and I go, oh, here's another cool thing. Like literally every region, every square inch of this country and the world has folk tales endless. They're endless. And they're in the public domain and you could use them for your movies like this. A movie like this would be perfect for some sort of local monster. And we give it a cool hook. This just is like, sounds something familiar, I think. Anyhow, that's my opinion. No, I'm not going to go see this. Even with this kind of hot scene. Anyhow, that's it for me. Tony D and Little Joan somewhere in the house. I am at the Blackwood Farmers Market today from 3 to 7 with my books. I'm not sure if it's outside or inside, but it's at 508 Lakeland Drive. There's a building there. So I'm not sure if we're in the building or in the parking lot. But either way, come on out if you're in the South Jersey area. We'll be there till 7. And we'll see you in the next one.